I now call this meeting of the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Director Poston, would you please read our mission and vision statements?
Mission statement: the Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics for every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by our diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens. Vision statement: education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, and staff and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you, Director Poston. Director Beck, would you please read the guiding principles?
Guiding principles. Opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential academically, creatively, and socially. Collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students' education and future. Transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you, Director Beck. Superintendent Schneckloff, would you please read the goals?
Today we're focused on goal 1 and 4, enhance student learning, and number 4, foster the innovative use of finances and facilities and staff.
Thank you, Superintendent. Up next, we have public hearings. I will now conduct a public hearing on the West High Gym Weight Room and Wrestling Room Addition project. Notice of the hearing was published in the Quad City Times on March 17, 2023. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 1-312-626-6799 and enter meeting ID 993-74003191, and the passcode is 606649. And state your name and address for the record. I'm assuming you all aren't here for the public hearings. Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Poston.
move the board approve the plans and specifications of the West Side Gym Weight Room and Western Room Addition project as shown in 95% plans and specifications.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. I will now conduct a public hearing on the Madison Elementary Window Replacement ESSER project. Notice of the hearing was published in the Quad City Times on March 17th, 2023. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 1-312-626-6799 and enter meeting ID 993-74003191, and the passcode is 606649. State your name and address for the record. Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the plans and specification for the Madison Elementary Window Replacement ESSER project as shown in the 95% plans and specifications.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Director Beck. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. All right, we will now move on to student board reports. We moved you guys up, so if you need to get to,
Yes, it is finals week, and so I very much appreciate that. So yeah, it's finals week across Davenport high schools. So yeah, that's a blast. This weekend we have North's drama is we've got a production of Newsies. This Friday and Saturday it will start at 7 p.m. And then Sunday it will start at 2 p.m. I believe you can find tickets online as well as at the door. And it's just there at the Performing Arts Center next to YMCA. And then also this Wednesday, there will be a collaboration between Wildcat Energy and Double D Diner in North's lower parking lot from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They will be kind of collaborating, and you can get food and energy drinks there, and any of the food, any of the profits will go towards North's after prom. And that's it on the north side.
So on the central side, first we have both the girls and boys swim team have received Gold Standard All Scholar Team, which is the highest award given by the National Swim Coaches Association. And then also Amanda Baudry was named an Academic All-American Swimmer, which is given to seniors with academic achievement throughout their high school time in high school. And then next, girls soccer had a scrimmage against North Scott this past week and won with a score of 2-1 with goals made by Lauren Frost and Dylan Moeller. And the girls team has their first game tonight against Pleasant Valley at Brady Street, so we wish them luck. And then our boys soccer team also has 2 home games this week. Tuesday versus Dubuque Hempstead, and then Thursday against Burlington Notre Dame, and they're both at Brady Street. And so we hope to see some Blue Devil fans there and support our boys team. And then Central's Wind Symphony performed in Chicago this past weekend at the Chicago Symphony Center at Orchestra Hall. And then also the National Honor Society will be having a flipped football game for juniors and seniors during prom week, and all proceeds will be donated to a local charity or organization. We're not really sure yet. And then there will be more information to come, but we are super excited for this event. And then finally, Blue Devil Productions' spring performance of Rock of Ages will be coming up in April. There are 4 shows, April 13th, April 14th, April 15th at 7 p.m., and April 16th at 2 p.m. in Central's Performing Arts Center. And tickets can be purchased online, and it'll be a fun and entertaining show, so we invite you all to come and watch. And yeah.
I forgot to write this down, and so that's my fault. This past Friday, our Joy Club, as well as really a lot of the clubs at North, put on this event we call Dance Mini-thon. I believe it's St. Ambrose who does a dance marathon, and it's like 24 hours of dancing straight. It's really intense. And they use it as a fundraising opportunity to raise money for Iowa's Children's Hospital. So we did a short little 2-hour version of it at North. We had several clubs participate and over 30 students, as well as several teachers and chaperones, and we've raised about $2,700 for Iowa Children's Hospital. So that's a really cool thing. Yeah.
thank you, student board members. We always appreciate your reports at the board meetings. Up next, we will move on to presentations. Our first presentation is the Winter Sports Celebration, and I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you very much. This is one of our favorite times of the year to have this boardroom packed with outstanding student athletes. And so tonight we have our district athletic director, Garrett Eagle, is going to lead us through kind of an opportunity to celebrate our students and their families. I think about the journey, moms, dads, guardians that you've been on to get your student athletes to this point, and it's a heroic effort. weekend tournaments, ball games, events, different things like that. And so as we are celebrating these things, I know a lot of that goes back to you, and we thank you very much for the attention that you give our young athletes, and it's outstanding. So with that being said, we'll turn it over. Garrett, thank you so much for putting this presentation together for us tonight and allowing us to recognize our fine student athletes.
Thanks, Mr. Sneckloff. First of all, there's going to be a presentation up of each high school, and on that will be all conference and state qualifiers, place winners, and we'll go through that. And what I'd like to do is have each coach with qualifiers come up, introduce their, excuse me, their team, and talk a little bit about the season, and we'll just proceed through that. So the first team that we'd like to recognize is the boys swimming team from Central, and if Coach Heller could come up.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for having us. Our four gentlemen here have gone through a tremendous amount of work in this off season. When we add up all the hours and the effort for the pool, it's just massive. But then when you put on top of that the amount that they put in the classroom, it really gives you a full feeling of what they are. We have Ben Cox, Gavin Hopewell, Charlie Jacobs, and Calvin Devlin. They were our four state qualifiers this year. They did a phenomenal job. Only one of them was at state last year. And one of them, Ben, not to put him out on it, but last year, at the beginning of the season, I never had my phone in my pocket or my shoes tied because I thought I was going to have to jump in and save him. And he really embodied what we think about at Central. He made that decision that he wanted to achieve great things, and once he made that decision, he knew that hard work was the only way to do it. And so it's absolutely outstanding that I was able to have my phone and keys in my pocket throughout the entire season. But Ben did a great job. He swam in the relays, really improved. Gavin qualified in the 50 free, which is an exciting race to watch, in the 100 backstroke. Charlie swam the 100 free and the 200 free with us, and with Charlie, he's a sponge. You talk to him, he tries what you say, and it's really what you want from all of your athletes. And then Calvin was in our 200 and 400 free relay as well. So again, they did a phenomenal job, and like I say, every year it's the decisions that you guys make that makes it easy for us. Allowing the club to use the facilities, giving us top-notch facilities. Just keep up the good work. Thanks, guys. Anything you guys want to say?
All right, thank you. Next up is the Central boys bowling team and Coach Nord.
Thank you very much for having us here tonight. This is the fourth year consecutive our boys bowling team has made it to state tournament. We made it through the qualifying rounds. We lost out in the first round, but it was a well-battled ground. Also, Charlie Waldridge here, he was an individual qualifier. He took fifth in state as an individual. And we have Darian Hellstrom, Gage McAllister, and Nate Hotchie here with us. They were the members of the team. We have a couple of the other boys that aren't here tonight. They are at other sport practices right now. So thank you very much for having us.
Next is the, Get turned around here. Central Girls Bowling Team and Coach Allen.
Hi, ladies. Hi. Thank you for having us here tonight. Two of the girls behind me, I have Carly Allen and Emma Phelps with me today. Carly is one of our seniors. This year at state, we also finished in the quarterfinals. We got knocked out in the first round this year, but it was a very good year. This is, out of the 8 years I've been coaching, this is the 6th year we have gone to state. Last year, we won the state last year. This is the first year we've had team and individual. Carly was one of our individuals this year. They take the top 32 to state, so just getting there is great. Had a little difficult this year, but she finished 23rd, but she was one of the 32 that was there. And also this year she was MAC Bowler of the Year with an average of 208. So, thank you.
All right, and one last recognition from Central is girls basketball, and I don't think the coach is here, but I'd like to recognize Addison Ford for second team. You got to come up and give a speech. All right, next we'll move on to North High School. And the first coach and athlete or sport we'd like to recognize is boys wrestling and Coach Connor.
How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing all right? All right, thanks for having us, board. We appreciate it. Up here we got Ashton Sneath. He was one of our qualifier. We had Ashton Sneath and Jeremiah Henderson. Jeremiah has a job interview right now, so we couldn't make it. We had a pretty good season. It was our largest team we've ever had. Well, we had started out with 40 wrestlers, so things are going in the right direction. We had 2 guys qualify, and if anybody knows anything about state wrestling, sometimes people will qualify who don't deserve to be there. I shouldn't say don't deserve, but when they get up there, they just get absolutely torched. I'd say both of our guys, when they showed up, showed that they deserved to be there. Jeremiah did great. He lost by 1 point and 2 points in his matches. Ashton had a little tougher round, but when one of the top guys he had to wrestle, went to swing a punch at him, he just stood there like, go for it. Like, I belong here. So it was a really great season for us. We won quite a few duels. And it was just good to see we have Ashton coming back and some young guys that are ready to hit off-season wrestling here in the next week or so. So, thanks a lot.
All right, next up, it's a little different. It's not just North High School, but I'd like to introduce Coach Parks, and this is our first year for girls wrestling program, and it's a district program that has all 3 high schools together. So if I could have Coach Parks come up and talk about girls wrestling. Coach here. All right, I will talk about it. This is the first year, like I said, that girls wrestling has been sanctioned. And like I said, it's a district program at this point. We're hoping to build so each high school has their own team continue. And for the district team, wrestling from North High School is Greta Bruce. Speech. And representing West High School, let's see where we at, is Jada Daly. Good job, girls. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to introduce the, let's see, girls bowling coach, Coach Edwards.
Thank you for having us and letting us show off these athletes. I'm pleased to announce two of my team members. It's Megan Ninehouse and Catherine Edwards. They made their way to the individual portion up at state. Catherine was the individual champion at the sub-state level with a 631 series and a high game of 226. Megan had a high game of 193 with a 553 series. Unfortunately, we struggled a little at state, but they still made it to state and finished 28th and 30th. I have to give a little shout out here. Catherine is actually my granddaughter. And several days before sub-state, she said to me, "Don't worry, Grandma, we're going to state." And we did. Congratulations.
Next up is the North Boys Bowling and Coach Bacoilis.
Hi, I'm CJ Bacoilis. I'm the boys bowling coach at Davenport North. This is my first year coaching. And with here I got Nate Martinez, Landon Mathiasen, Adam Reed, Colton Dirks, and Caden Ringdahl. We are also missing George Bebout from the varsity team, but we have a full roster of about 25 boys. This year was an incredible season, especially for my first year. I'm super proud of these guys. They made it to state in our own district qualifier, qualifying second, and then at the state tournament qualifying as the 10th seed, but going through the whole bracket up to the state final. And even though it didn't go our way, I'm still super proud of them. Individually, Caden Ringdahl, our senior, finished 4th in the state individually. He had a tough match in the semifinal and lost, and then also lost in a 3rd place match, but he didn't care. He threw every ball, every game with a smile on his face and was just super happy, and I couldn't have been more proud of him. And I couldn't be more proud of this team. And I love these guys, and they made it a great first year for me. Thank you.
All right, next I want to make sure I'm not going to miss anyone, but anyone from the North girls basketball team? Okay, they could not be here. Most of the team is actually up in Ames tonight, and they are practicing with their AAU team. So they drive up to Ames and have practice and come back and go to school. And so without them being here, we'd still like to recognize and celebrate their state qualifying. And congratulations and good luck to the girls basketball team on continued success. Next, if I could have for West High School recognition, we'll start with boys wrestling and Coach Weisrock. All right, Coach Weisrock's not here. Okay, is Tucker Avis here? He was our state qualifier at 145 pounds for West. We'll move on to the girls bowling team and the MAC Coach of the Year, Coach Schlichting, and we'll start with the girls bowling team.
Don't be scared, Mr. Flynn. Hey, thanks for having us tonight. I'm Coach Slichting, the girls and boys bowling coach at Davenport West. First off, I'd like to say these bowling programs at Davenport are outstanding. Every year, I've done it 6 years, North, state championships, second places, they're always there. The North girls are, I'm telling you, they're gonna be a wrecking next year. The Central's unbelievable the last 5, 6 years. So it's really competitive, and I think Davenport's in a good spot as far as their bowling programs. And maybe, I would say embrace it a little more, because it's pretty darn good. And I'm kind of an outsider. I came in 6 years ago because I couldn't find a coach. So I've coached football, wrestling, track, baseball. So I did it because I said, hey, the kids need a coach. I'll learn and try to get these kids better. And it's kind of worked out. But what I've learned from these other coaches and these programs, they're squared away and they're top shelf. So I would just say embrace them a little more. That being said, it was a great year. Our girls had an outstanding year. MAC champions, I think it's first time school history. The girls qualified for state, got second place in the district, and we ended up nudging out north. It was battle. Came down to the last frame, and we ended up going to state, and we just got hot. We beat one of those rich schools, Southeast Polk, which is really nice. Anytime you beat those teams, you really like that. And then we got beat off by Ottumwa, which is the bowling capital of Iowa, if you didn't know that by now. But we came back, and girls regrouped, and they competed and grinded it out, and they got third place in the state, and it was outstanding. My individual state qualifiers was Alexis Peters, and my boy, I had a boy and a girl qualify, Curtis Campbell. I only got one bowler here tonight, because she's a wrestler, because she knows she got to show up, right? Wrestlers know how to do it. Jada. The other girls are Alexis Peters, Kylie Daly, Haley Miser Hall, Lexi Bell, and Shay Edwards. But they did a great job. It was a great year. Thank you for your support, and thanks for having us. Oh, Curtis is here. Yeah, he's stuck in the back. See, when you don't have a neck, you can't see people. You gotta visually turn your body. That's what, too much weights do for you. But other than that, Curtis is here. So he was a state qualifier too. So other than that, thank you very much. Good luck to everybody else in the spring. And Wang Chung.
All right. That is what I have for my list. Am I missing anyone in the audience? Okay. I would like to thank all the athletes for all their time, the way that, hey, Coach Parks, how are you? Good, nice to see you. That's our district girls wrestling coach. Great first year. He's dedicated, done a great job, so I'd like to thank him for his time and dedication to the program, and he will make this a big and better program and keep building this for success. So I'd like to thank all the athletes for the way they represent our district, the time they put in on the court, mat, field. They do a great job with the time. I'd like to thank the parents for the time that you guys dedicate from when they're in their youth programs to high school, to driving, the snacks, orange slices, things like that, fruit snacks, things, whatever, when they're young. I'd like to thank the time you guys put in as parents and athletes. And I'd also like to thank the coaches for their dedication and the time that they give to our high schools, to the youth programs, working with our student athletes to make them better. And I just want to say thank you for taking some time to recognize our student athletes, and thank you very much and have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much. If we could have all of our student athletes come up, we're going to take a picture with the school board. We're going to jam in, take a picture. is Brenda allowing this? Wait.
Ready? All right, folks, I'm going to change the agenda a little bit. I'm going to use the presidential privilege here, and we're going to switch and go to recognitions, and then we will come back to the to our other presentation. So with that being said, we're going to go into the recognition. I will turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you very much. It's very strange for me to be standing at the podium to address the school board. But tonight is a very special night. I would like to recognize somebody. Not all heroes wear capes. March 6th, school day started off as a normal school day, Chapel Hill Road. Anybody familiar with that? It's on the way to the Scott County landfill. One of our school buses pulled out in front of a semi. There were students on that bus, and because of the heroic action of one of our community members, everyone on that bus survived. The semi driver is here with us tonight. I'd like to recognize Mr. Pat Irons, if you would please come up here. What occurred? What occurred that day was a selfless act. The school bus moved out in front. Pat immediately saw that and put himself on the back burner, turned his semi, which I believe was loaded down, towards the ditch. Completely missed the school bus with students on it. That semi, moving at 45 miles an hour, would have split that bus in two. This man right here put himself last. Semi came around, barely clipped the front of our bus, but subsequently ripped the back end of his trailer off and put himself in the ditch. Without that action, we'd have no idea the horror that would have come to our community. And on behalf of our school board, we wanted to bring you here and give you a hero's thank you. In our district, we have something that we don't give out very often, and it is a superintendent's coin. And this coin is only given to people that help grow excellence inside of our community. And forever, may this be a symbol to you that you save people's lives. You put yours on the back burner to do that for our children. And may this community always remember that day on what you did, because we are eternally grateful. I know that Mr. Driscoll followed up with the parents that were on that bus, and they wanted to relay their gratitude towards you, because we have no idea the horrific outcome that would have been if you didn't put yourself second and put your life in jeopardy to save our students. So thank you so much on behalf of the Davenport Community School District. sure they're gonna wanna say something to you. Any questions for Mr. or Steve?
As a parent of kids in the district, I just want to say thank you very much.
Very well.
Glad it turned out the way it did. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you so much for coming here tonight. I know it looks like you brought some people that are proud with you.
Lot of
So
good support.
if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to take a picture
Yes,
with
definitely.
you.
You want me to wait?
Yeah, wait. The last recognition of the night, we are very proud to announce a new team member to Davenport Community School District. It's an incredibly important position, incredibly important partnership between the foundation and Davenport schools. There have been amazing work that's been done between these two entities, and it's only going to continue to blossom. So that being said, I'll turn it over to Nikki DeFau to do our introductions. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you, Superintendent Schneckloth. I'm pleased to be here tonight, and I know that you'll join me in welcoming Sally Crino as the new Executive Director of the Davenport Schools Foundation. She's going to share a little bit about herself, but before she does, I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize some of the foundation board members that have joined us this evening. And with us is Tim Chen, who is the president of the board, Ann Severade, and Greg Gowie. And if I've missed anyone, I don't think I have, but I think their being here this evening just speaks to the enthusiasm that we're all feeling right now and looking forward to doing some great things for the district. So without further ado, this is Sally.
Thank you, Nikki. I'm very pleased to be here and to share a little bit about my background. A year ago in March, I retired from St. Ambrose University's Advancement Division, where I served for 23 years. I was the Associate Vice President for Advancement, and I was the Capital Campaign Director, and the Legacy Giving Specialist, and the Major Gift, and the Leadership Annual Gift expert as well. So I bring to the school district a wealth of fundraising knowledge and fundraising opportunity. And I look forward to collaborating with Nikki, with whom I worked at Ambrose for 11 years, and with the district and with the community. Our goal is to be very visible, very responsive, and we think it's a very exciting time to be part of the district and to be moving forward with fundraising. So thank you, and I invite you to consider supporting us. Thank you.
I have already met with our team a handful of times, and I'm very excited the direction that we're going. I think those two and the board, we are on an excellent path, and I'm very excited about the things that we're going to accomplish in the very near future. Quite the dynamic duo in Nikki and Sally, and we're going to accomplish great things for students in Davenport. So thank you so much, Foundation and Sally, for being here today. Greatly appreciated.
All right, now we'll go back to presentations, and we will do presentation 4.02, the summer school planning. I will turn it back over to the superintendent.
Well, as always, two incredibly flexible, understanding human beings that put community first are going to, which is what you displayed tonight for allowing our visitors to go first. So thank you so much for putting this presentation together. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself as we go, just in case somebody might not know you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for putting this work together. This is tireless work. I mean, this work is incredibly difficult to put together, and you two do an outstanding job, and I couldn't be more proud.
Thank you for the time for us to come tonight and share with you what we have in store for summer learning. And my name is Jen Van Fleet. I'm your state federal program specialist. And one of my responsibilities and my honors is to partner with Ms. Shaney Ford and a whole team of dedicated individuals across the district to bring your summer learning program. So we're excited to share more about it tonight.
This summer, if I could speak, this summer, our theme is Find Your Voice. So we're very excited to kind of get the ball rolling and introduce what we have in store.
And so we introduced ourselves. And we also want to give a nod, though, to a couple other individuals. We have two teacher leaders for summer learning who are taking on district level coordination. Mandy Tidwell is a name that you may recognize. She is supporting our elementary programming. And Sarah Height is supporting our secondary program. We also have a large crew of dedicated building and district support. So, lots of really important people in our K-12 program. And we also have a preschool team led by Tiffany Stalcup and Stacy Struck.
So our driving goals this summer is to make sure that all students are served pre-K through 12 and identified as at-risk and non-at-risk as well. The program is going to be offered regionally within the Central, North, and West region and tailored to what our students need. And it will have a community focus similar to last year, where we brought in lots of different community partners and gave all students pre-K through 12 those experiences throughout the summer, whether that be web-based or in person.
And just another nod, we have all of our students involved. In particular, we make sure that we are focusing on our most at-risk students, and that would also include our students who qualify for English learner supports, as well as students who are McKinney-Vento qualified, who are facing housing insecurity. In addition, our students who are most in need of additional supports with reading and academics over the summer. And then again, we also partner with pre-K as they prep those kinders to come in to our kindergarten program. And also new this year, I think it's fair to say that we're partnering with our exceptional education partners who are offering extended school year supports for some of our students in their program. And so we have a true pre-K-12 program happening.
The schools that will be serving our students is we'll have a core program at Children's Village West for all of our 4-year-olds that will serve about up to 60 students. And then we'll offer program regionally. So any student can attend within our district, but these were the schools that were chosen within the regions of Adams, Bluegrass, Fillmore, Garfield, Harrison, Hayes, Jackson, Jefferson, Madison, Truman, and Wilson. We'll have a junior high program at Sudlow and Williams, and then all 4 high schools will have high school summer school.
And then just a little nod to our preschool program. They'll have a full day kindergarten jumpstart to get those students ready for what school looks like in kindergarten, and also to work on those literacy, math, and social emotional skills.
So at the elementary level, a typical K through 6 schedule that we'll focus on is everyone will have breakfast. We're partnering with DCSD Food Service to provide breakfast and lunch to all of our students. So students can be dropped off as early as 7:30, and then from 8 to 11, we'll focus on 45-minute rotations of reading, math, STEM, and health and wellness. All students will have the option to then have lunch and then transition either to parent pickup, or students who need afternoon wrap services will have an opportunity to stay with us. And our wrap sites are Hayes, Fillmore, and Madison. For the students that need wrap services from other buildings, we'll run a shuttle throughout the district to get those kids situated in the afternoon.
Junior high looks pretty similar. We have breakfast and lunch as well, and the students go through rotations of reading, math, and different activities. We do not have a wrap program for the junior high students.
Our high school summer school program is more credit-based, and they'll be using Edgenuity, and that program will take place at Central, Mid-City, North, and West. We're excited to have Mid-City jump on board with offering summer school, and those classes will be offered in 2-hour blocks. And so a student can participate in multiple classes. So they'll have an 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. block and a 10 a.m. to noon block. And then breakfast and lunch will also wrap around with those services.
So just a little bit of our infrastructure. We are trying to offer as many different options as we can to our families, either through a half day or a whole day summer learning, depending on their age level. And then our K-12 program is largely funded through ESSER. And then elementary, I think on a previous slide, is United Way funded. And then we're focusing on literacy in particular, but then wrapping around with the engaging parts that we know kids want to do during the summer. So fun different activities on site, and then also we do field trips and activities and community partnerships and all kinds of fun summer stuff.
So our district programming is really tailored to what our students need. So our staff is comprised of our district-wide coordinators, and then each building will have a building coordinator that's then comprised of a staff of certified teachers and paraeducators. We're also adding some additional supports to allow our students to have the success that they need throughout the day. And again, acknowledging food and nutrition coming on board. To provide breakfast and lunch is huge for us because our students need access to that nutrition side of things. And then having the option to have our students in the afternoons in the building to make sure parents have the ability to have their kids in a safe and secure location in the afternoons is awesome. So it really is a district-wide approach to serving all of our students. The timeline for us Jen and I have patted ourselves on the back several times this year. We should stop, but we're ahead of the game. We are in the process of starting to narrow down staff. Curriculum has been decided and implemented and ordered. We will have PD dates set and ready to roll. All of our hiring is in process, so we will have hiring done within the next 2 weeks. Our partners have been secured. Our partnership with AmeriCorps, to where we bring our AmeriCorps community members in to work with our kids, and registration should kick off towards the middle of April. We'll start with professional development in May, start that process throughout the month, and then June is program time, and we'll start program June 19th actually, and it will run through July 29th. So we are definitely sticking to our timeline, and are super excited to start to introduce registration for our families within the next few weeks. As we know in the past, we really want to focus on a community-based program. So by having our core educators in the mornings focusing on that reading and math, and really allowing our students to have that 15-to-1 ratio and that experience to focus on those subjects, we're able to then expand opportunities and partner with our community. So we've partnered with Davenport Public Library with the Find Your Voice theme. So this is actually a nationwide theme. So our kiddos will have an opportunity to compete in the citywide reading contest. Last year, Hayes won and had great pride in that, and the year before Madison won. So internally, there's a great competitive spirit between all of the schools with the focus on the summer reading program, and then getting to take the kids out and about and have the experiential learning to tie it back to our curriculum has really, we've had a lot of success with attendance and getting those kids engaged across the board, whether it's our pre-K kiddos all the way through junior high, and then our high school kids focused on credit recovery. A big thank you to all the DCSD staff. I need to really acknowledge Cindy Lewis and Diane Campbell have definitely assisted in this role in allowing us to drill down on our curriculum side of things to make sure that's ready to roll for our staff. And without them, the program wouldn't be as impactful as what it is. And then all of the other staff that we have partnered with to help make these programs successful. So we're super excited for summer to come. Summer is actually one of my favorite parts of the year. In getting to have the kids have a little bit different experience and create that safe, secure environment for them, and sneak in reading, math, and science at the same time. So it's going to be a great summer. And I think that's it.
I've recovered. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to give you any answers that we have.
Director Beck.
Thank you guys for the presentation, and kudos on being ahead of scheduling. I remember once several years ago. So 2 questions. For the pre-K, is there wraparound programming from 2 to 5-ish or something like that?
It's just 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it follows the core day, but there's not wraparound for the pre-K.
Okay. Is there any way we can find out if that's a need that needs to be met and potentially meet it? Because children who are 4 probably have parents who are at work until later.
We for sure can talk to.
Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but I think it's worth looking into. And then my other question was, how are we going to sort of build that excitement? Like, I was just kind of brainstorming, kids don't want to go to summer school, but what if we called it like summer camp in a school or something like that, I mean, I'm not saying change the name. It's all done for this year, but like, is every teacher saying, hey, we have this great summer camp opportunity, talk to your parents about it, that kind of thing, and we're mailing things and we're sending them home?
So you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. Summer school is something we use as something we offer, but when we approach families, kids, and parents, it's the summer camp experience, it's the field trips, it's the hands-on experiences that allow for our kids to be excited. Our core staff did an amazing job last summer. So last summer our theme was, what was our theme? Camping. It was some sort of a camping theme. And so our Monroe staff, they had campfires in every room. Everyone had a cabin name. So that same energy is what we're taking into this summer to kind of say, hey guys, like, yes, we're teaching reading and math and all of those things, but we have to engage our students on a different level because it is summer. So that's where we're pushing in those field trips and community experiences and guest visitors and all of those things to get our kids excited. Because if the kids are excited, the parents are excited and they're going to bring them.
Director Poston.
You mentioned the AmeriCorps program, and you're referring to, like last year at Madison, you had the St. Ambrose football players there. So do you have people signed up for that already through AmeriCorps?
So we're working with the city. The football coach for Ambrose has already reached out and he is very excited to have his football players participate in the experience again because there was so much success. So we'll be doing interviews in the next 3 weeks for placement, but we should have twice the number of members that we had last year that we'll have this year. So up to 12 football players will be joining us.
We're just seeing those guys in action
Mhm.
at Madison. The kids just adored them, and great role models. So
Phenomenal. And I'm happy to report all of them have stayed in touch with our kids all year long. So in terms of impact, and they've texted me, they're like, hey, Shani, can we do this, this, and this? We want to come visit. So the impact on our AmeriCorps members, football players, was huge as much as it was our students. So that relationship and bond has stayed in place all year.
Does anyone else have any questions? I think you knocked it out of the park. Oh, Director Posh.
not necessarily for you, but maybe for TJ. So some of what's being done here at summer school, would this be a springboard to possibly what we can do once we get more pre-K in our elementary schools? Is this something that would be a model to follow?
Yes. Director Kleinger.
The high school is mostly credit recovery, but I see you have incoming ninth graders who don't have the credit issue in eighth grade that they do in ninth grade. So what are they doing? And at 8 o'clock in the morning, you expect high school kids to be there?
Yeah.
Good luck.
They showed last year. They earned credits. They did well. But yes, you're right. It was surprising when they showed up. But our incoming ninth graders will actually join the junior high program. And so those who want to participate will have that. They'll stay with the 7th and 8th grade program, even though they're coming into ninth grade, because you're right. They're not signed up for credits yet that they need to earn.
And then just to piggyback on that, we'll have transition programs or jump programs for all of our incoming freshmen. So where they'll spend 2 to 3 days at their incoming high schools to acclimate themselves to the buildings.
And incoming 7th.
And yeah.
Incoming 7th graders have that kind of experience coming into their junior highs too in August.
Could they do credit recovery? It's not really recovery. Could they take a class online, ninth graders, and get credit for something then they wouldn't have to take later? Or
we could take that suggestion. I don't know how that would work, but we could look into that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I think they do get a partial, like a quarter credit for doing that incoming ninth grader jump program.
Director Beck.
Speaking of the bridge programs, as somebody who has a soon-to-be ninth grader, do they do the same type of thing? Because I'm having trouble remembering back to going from 6th grade to 7th grade, because that was kind of COVID time, and we had put a lot of that stuff on hold or made it virtual. What kinds of transition programs do we have open for all of our kiddos going from 6th to 7th and then 8th to 9th?
So both the 6th to 7th and the 8th and 9th is definitely about making those kids feel comfortable on day one by giving them some pre-experiences. So anything from going through the lunch lines to finding their locker, meeting some of their teachers, getting tours of the building, those kinds of things happen. And so we have that happening for both our incoming 7th graders and incoming 9th graders.
So basically, anyone in the district will have an opportunity for that kind of thing. It's just not the same, like 3-day.
It's kind of like it's a little bit separate from our regular summer
Okay.
program, but we
Great.
wrap it in. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I look forward to the fall presentation where you let us know how it went.
You betcha.
I always enjoy that. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks. Thank you for the time.
Now we'll move on to board reports. Are there any board reports? Director Gordon.
This past weekend, I was able to go to Chicago and watch Central's Wind Symphony Band perform at the 23rd annual Percy Granger Wind Fest. I was I didn't get to experience the instructional clinics, but the band got to do 2 clinics with professors from 2 colleges, and then they performed at this Windfest on Saturday among 1 other high school and 2 colleges. And the pieces that they performed were incredibly challenging. And they just blew it all out of the water. It was incredible. So we should be very, very proud of our students and directors. That was a neat experience.
Thank you. Any other board reports? Director Poston?
Last week, I visited Jefferson Elementary. I first attended the student intervention team meeting. I'd like to thank Kim Kitzman, the reading coach, and all the reading interventionists, along with Mrs. Schroeder from the AEA for allowing me to attend. Kitzman and Schroeder took me to some of the classrooms, and also I observed interventionists at work. It was a treat to see all of the staff and all of the students hard at work and totally engaged. I also would like to thank Principal Schultz and Chris Miller for their time when I was visiting, visiting the building.
Thank you. Any other board reports? The only thing I have is, I think it was a couple weeks ago, Superintendent and I attended the Mississippi Bend AEA annual banquet. They had a phenomenal speaker there, and I enjoy going to those because it gets you fired up and ready to go on for the next one sometimes when you get that little bit of lag. So great speaker, and then I believe all the administrators were meeting with that speaker the next day. So that's all I got. Any other board reports? All right, seeing none, we will move on to communications. Open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The form is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or on the school board page of the district's website for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants must email their request to Brenda T. at tbrin@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president may set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. You'll be asked to state your name and home address prior to making remarks. And we only have one. We didn't have any virtual, correct? We have one, Ann McGlynn, 2 minutes.
Hi, everyone. Ann McGlynn, 3009 Grand Avenue, Davenport. We are a Children's Village Hoover, Garfield, Sedlow Central family. You saw my kid up here with the bowling team that made state, and he was also with Wind Symphony this weekend in Chicago. We love Davenport schools. I don't know, nope, they didn't leave. I want to say just 2 quick words about Shani and Jen. I get to professionally work with them. They are amazing. They are so good at what they do. So, anyway, I want to start off by saying thank you to the superintendent for the letter that was sent out Friday about the new Iowa law that singles out transgender and non-binary people in our community, involving what bathrooms they can or cannot use. I would like to say I'm sorry to all the human beings that this law will harm, and to the school district staff who will be navigating this, among all of the other legislation that's coming out of Des Moines regarding children and public schools. I would like to finish with a request. The $150,000 a year contract for marketing and communication services comes up for consideration soon. I ask the board to fully consider options outside of the current company. Please consider bringing this vital aspect of our school district operations back in-house. From my vantage point, this change would ensure our district's communications and marketing are led by people who clearly believe in public schools and devote the entirety of their professional careers to the care and well-being of all Davenport schools, kids, staff, and families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McGlynn. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Thank you. May I have a second? Oh, yes, thank you, Director Kleinschmidt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Superintendent report.
Not at this time.
Committee reports.
This week, our data wall team looked at the schedule for the implementation of our computer. We also reviewed our proposal format for the actual visual for it, and we have another meeting scheduled with Director Hayes.
Thank you. Finance Committee.
Yeah, we met last Thursday, and Kevin is going to make a presentation tonight.
Perfect. Yeah, you'll probably be a little lengthy. I got you. All right. Legislative advocacy, there's nothing, no report at this time. Elziak,
We meet April 18th.
long-range facilities planning. Policy Committee.
We are starting to get towards the end. We can see it, the end in sight. So hopefully in a month or two.
All right, Director Posh, and I'll turn it back over to you guys for your Finance Committee report.
This is kind of an interesting month because we're turning a corner going from our February report, and we'll be talking about our FY24 budget. There's a lot that's going to be tied together between this part and when we get to that discussion item. But first, I'd like to start with the monthly report. Brenda, please. We're 2/3 of the way through the year. And again, I highlighted some things to talk about. I highlighted the local revenue in the general fund, management fund, and the PEPL fund, because this is the month that we're starting to turn the corner before we get our tax payment. And when we get to the total, you're going to see some numbers in the red. But remember, our April 15th is coming, and you haven't seen that. So February and March tend to be the 2 months that lag behind, and then it'll turn come April. A couple points to make on the revenue side is ESSER effects to our budget. FY22 in revenue, in federal revenue, we had $3.5 million in federal revenue. This year, we had $5.9 million in revenue. That's mainly due to the increase. There's other federal revenue in there, but that's the biggest mover. Conversely, in an entire spectrum of all the different expenditures, salaries, benefits, purchase services, and so on, we had $3.4 million of expenditures last year, but we've had $9.1 million of expenditures this year. With that roughly $6 million, just shy of $6 million difference, you can see that our expenditures are about $4.5 million more, $3.5 million more. So we're pretty much on pace with our spend from one year to the next when you remove ESSER from that mix. And you can see the surplus deficit. We're running about a $1.8 million deficit. That will correct itself. It will not correct itself in March, but it will correct itself in April. And that is true for the management fund and the PEPL fund. We'll be watching those funds closer, especially the PEPL fund and the SAVE fund as we start getting into projects. So we're going to start turning a page where we're going to look at those more closely when we look at those each month. Any questions on, yes?
Director Beck.
So under the revenues, where it says, you highlighted the 50%, and I noticed that in previous years it was a little higher. Um, That's not necessarily concerning that the revenues are lower at this point.
Correct. It's more, this is what 50% of what we budgeted. We expected to have a few more expenditures of more revenue.
So the 50% is basically, we planned for X amount of dollars and we have received 50% of them at this point.
Correct.
So in a way, it's actually kind of helpful because then we still have 50% instead of 40%
Correct.
left. Okay.
And
Helpful.
it's an
probably not the
estimate.
right word.
It's also an estimate of what we're going to spend, especially when it comes to ESSER.
Yeah.
There's some lag in some of the things that are happening. So 50%, if I would reduce the amount that we budgeted, you'd be much higher of a percentage. So so we're comparing two different base numbers from FY22 to FY23. If not, if we can go on to the monthly report, or for the key measures, I'm sorry. Here, I've made the adjustment, and we're going to talk about this more when we get to our FY24 budget, but you'll see that I did some re-estimating on the FY23 projected. Those are numbers from a re-estimate of this year that shows that our UAB will be around 10.6%, which is really a good target for us to be at. A lot of that has to do with some of it's ESSER, that we get some indirect funds. Some of this is higher interest. I'll talk a little bit about that in the next presentation. And some of it's our vacancies. You know, we've had vacancies. The more the vacancies go on through the year, the less that we're going to spend. So right, wrong, or indifferent, we're improving in that area. When you get down to the solvency, you're seeing we're about it says 21.5% solvency. That won't correct itself this year as far as being much lower, but it's still in that acceptable range. And I'll talk again. Remember what I said, these things I'm talking about. I'll talk about those things when we get to our budget. Our solvency is doing very good because we're not spending the money. We still have the revenue. So it's improving our ability to pay. And on the second page, again, another item I'm going to touch on later is you'll see that where our certified budget and our projection is, our variance is still within tolerance range. So as of this month, we're not talking about doing an amendment for FY23. If something happens in the next month or two, we will talk about an amendment if it changes. But as of right now, we won't need to amend. Any questions on key measures? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful report. All right, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break before we move into items requiring action.
Done.
All right, we will move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on subject 11.01, hire Bray Architects to continue Phase 1 planning?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I recommend the board approve the contract with Bray Architect to be our architect of choice for the Phase 1 project shared as a previous board meeting for the fee schedule list in the attached contract in section 11.1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.02, student transportation services contract?
Mr. President,
Oh, go ahead.
Director Poston.
move the board approve the student transportation service contract and bus lease contract with All Town Bus Services for the 2023-24, 2024-25, 2025-26 school years for the base amount of $7,198,058.91 annually.
Second.
Is there a second? Thanks, Director Kleindrum. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.03 audit services contract FY23 through FY25?
Mr. President,
Director Poston.
move the board accept a proposal from Bonesock and Fromwell for audit services for 3 years.
Is there a
Fiscal
second?
year 23 to fiscal year 25.
I was trying to beat her off the gun. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this one? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.04 non-bargaining administrators and cabinet salaries?
Mr. President,
Director Kleindrum.
I move the board approve a total package increase of 3% for the non-bargaining administrators and cabinet employee groups as previously discussed for the 2023-24 fiscal year.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.05 tentative agreement with the maintenance employees?
Mr. President,
Director Klein-Jerome.
I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with the maintenance group and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener of 7/1/23 to 6/30/24 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through 6/30/28.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.06 tentative agreement with food and nutrition services?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with AFSCME Food and Nutrition Services and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener for 7/1/23 through 6/30/24 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.07 tentative agreement with secretaries?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with AFSCME secretaries and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through June 30th of 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.08, tentative agreement with Paris?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with AFSCME paraeducators and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you, and that was asked me, right? Just verifying. Is
Sorry.
there a
A
second?
little trouble pronouncing.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.09, tentative agreement with custodial / security / warehouse?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with AFSCME custodians, warehouse, and security, and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this one? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. May I have a motion on subject 11.10, tentative agreement with DEA teachers?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move the board approve the tentative agreement reached with the DEA and ratified by the unit for the wage reopener for July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 of the collective bargaining agreement in effect through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.11, policies for board's approval?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move the board approve the following policies: 401.20, 402.19, 406.03, 412.01, 502.12, 503.09, 503.10, 503.12, 506.06, and 506.10.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We will now move on to discussion items. The first subject for discussion is 12.01 FY24 budget. I would turn it over to Superintendent.
So last week, we met the Board Finance Committee, and I went through a very long conversation about where our budget for next year sits. Tonight, I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. Karen will not fall asleep on this one, right? She told me shorten it, so I did. So this is, excuse me. So I have my notes in two different places. I should be able to just go with this. So on our budget, the first thing I want to do is just very briefly remind everyone what we're doing with this budget. On the second slide, we have three columns that we're working with. We're working with what has actually happened in FY22 after the state got done with our certified annual report. The area I worked in the most on item 2 and 3 is what we expected to receive and what we expected to spend in FY23, and then projecting what we will spend and receive in FY24. So there's three columns involved. I'm going to go through some of that, and I'll show you the revenue and the expenditure side. And this is with all funds combined. So remember I said when we don't need to amend, this is where this is coming back to us. There's 4 areas that we're really certifying: instruction, support services, non-instructional, and other expenditures. You're going to see this theme repeated throughout, and I'll explain a little bit more as we go. On the next slide, the key variables. When we do this funding formula, it's about 17 pages long. The formula is the state has modified it over the last 40 plus years. There's really only 5 areas that the board has control of. It's a dropout prevention, which you approved in January. So that number gets rolled into the budget for next year. The cash reserve, and we'll talk a little bit more about the cash reserve. That is to help us maintain our solvency. And remember when I said our solvency is going up? We'll have a conversation about this tonight, and I'll show you how it's changing. The instructional support levy, if you remember 2 years ago, we approved the board approved 5-year instructional support levy. That's where this number comes in. It's a 5-year levy, but it's an annual levy that the board enacts. Our regular PEPAL, which is our 33-cent PEPAL, you'll see this coming forward in another slide. And then the management fund, which funds all of our retirement, property casualty, workman's comp, insurance, those sorts of things. So those are really the 5 areas that we control. The rest of it is completely out of your control as a board. This is just a very quick slide of what makes up the general fund. You'll see there the cash reserve levy and the instructional support levy. This is a comparison between what actually happened in 23 and what we're proposing for 24. Instructional support levy is pretty stable, but the cash reserve levy is coming down. You'll see we had $11.5 million for the current year. Next year, we're proposing a $6.7 million levy. That is because we are limited to our expenditures minus our ending fund balance in the general fund. And since we're doing well financially, when we have as many vacancies as we've had, and we're doing well financially as far as how we're spending our funds, we've hit a ceiling. That $6.7 million is our ceiling. So we're levying everything we can to remain solvent. In effect, it's just a safeguard that the state has on schools so they don't try and levy more in taxes than they really need to receive. So we've hit that mark, and we're adhering to that in this. And you'll see our general fund levy is declining by $1.11. It was $13.04 last year, and it's projected to be $11.92 this year. I'll go into that a little bit more when we get to the totals. On the next slide, these are the revenues and where they're coming from. That's the taxes levied on properties. This is the top half of what is certified. I should start with that. This is the revenue side of exactly what's going to be posted in the paper, pending any changes that you may ask me to do. I wanted to talk a little bit about the taxes and the state foundation aid, line 1 and line 10. They're inversely proportionate. That changes as our enrollment changes and whatever the state gives for state supplemental assistance. So you'll see that they're roughly one's X amount higher than the other, and they're pretty stable. I do want to mention earnings on investments. You'll see that we had in FY22, we had a $427,000 in investments. When I was projecting the rest of this year and I saw 3.5 million, I'm like, wow, did we have a journal entry in the wrong place? No, our interest rates are over 4% that we're receiving. We've also rolled some of this stuff into some CDs and laddered a couple CDs to try and get the most out of our idle money. As I said, we're very solvent right now. So we're investing that idle cash appropriately into CDs, some of it. And when I budgeted for FY24, I reduced the amount because I wanted to be conservative in our revenue estimates. If anything changes on this, all it will do is adjust our bottom line. There isn't a need to amend on the revenue side. So I just thought that earnings kind of looked kind of funny, and you were owed an explanation of exactly how that has changed. The other highlighted one is the IDEA and other federal sources. That is our ESSER funds. You'll see that we've gone from 29 to 37 to almost $50 million. As we're pushing those ESSER funds into each of the years, I'm trying to follow that revenue so we show that it's 100% spent, in this case, received. And we'll show that expenditure as well. You won't see the expenditure separated, but this is accounting for all the revenue in ESSER. When we do this again next year in FY25, you're going to see a significant reduction in that line 15. The transfers in, when we do projects like ESSER projects out of the PEPL or SAVE funds, so the HVAC project, we'll spend those funds out of PEPL or SAVE, and we have to transfer the funds that we received in the general fund into that PEPL and SAVE fund so the revenues and expenditures match. So that's a lot of that transferring between funds so that we're expending it and receiving it in the correct fund. I'm going to pause for a second so you can ask questions up to that point on the revenue side.
Director Beck.
Yeah, can you explain that a little bit more? Because there's 22.4 million in 2024, but only 2.8 million in the other ones. So how exactly does this work, and what are we looking at?
Sure. That 2.8 million right now, there's a little bit of the transfer when food service owes the general fund money for custodial services, but the rest of that $2 million are the two debt issuances that we have. We have to transfer the saved dollars into debt service. So there's transfers going on, so it's seen as a revenue. That 22 million would be transferring. We have to receive the dollars in ESSER in the general fund. That's what the state makes us do. We can't just deposit it into PEPL. I would love to just deposit in PEPL and you wouldn't see those transfers happening, but they require us to do it there and then transfer the funds. So when we get on the expense side, you'll see that the exact same numbers are going to show up on your expense side. It's just a function of moving the dollars from one fund to the other.
Any other questions?
On the next page, as promised, you'll see there's 4 areas that I'm talking about: instruction, support services, non-instructional, and other. This gives you a little bit more of a breakdown of what really those entail. Instruction is exactly as it says. It's direct instruction to students. When you see that line, total support services, this is a breakdown of what goes into total support services. You can see all those, what they would be. It would be items like counseling, nursing, curriculum, the admin, the board, your expenses as a board, the business and operations and transportation are all go into that support services. This is where that 5% law that's coming into play. They're taking into account all of those. There's not one district in the state that can meet the 5% that they're proposing. So there's a lot of work to go there. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but just so you know, when they're having that conversation, this is exactly what they're talking about. So that line 31A is the sum total of those lines from student support services down. Non-instructional programs, the vast majority of that is food nutrition. There's a little bit of Shaney's Fund 62, the before and after school that goes in there, but the majority of that's food nutrition. And then when you see other, a lot of times people say, what's other? This shows facility acquisitions, debt service, and AEA support. You'll see the debt service, the 2.3, 2.4, and the 1.2. That is the last of our payments for Central. Central's debt will be completely paid off by next year, presuming, and we'll have no more debt, presuming we don't do another borrow. Hope we do before the end of next year. You'll see that those transfers out. When you asked about why 22 million, you see that 22.4, 2.8. So those are the transfers out to other funds. So it's seen as the expenditure. That's below the 4 lines. So we don't see those in the budget, but it's a function on the sheet that we have to show. And kind of the big ta-da on this is here's a proposed property tax rate. I had shown you what the general fund is doing. When we add all the other funds, management fund, we'll break that down a little bit more. Our proposed tax rate for next year is $14.99. The next, well, a couple slides down, but when we get there, I will show you a comparison of what we've done historically over the years. This is a 60-cent decrease from the current year. We were just right at 1560, 1559 this current year. A lot of that, if we go to the next slide, I can explain that a little better. This is the $14.99 broken down for all funds. You can see that the general fund levy is the one that's going down. Management levy, you'll see that, well, I'll explain it on the next slide, but the management fund levy is set at $1.39. I've increased that levy, and I'll explain it on the next slide. And you'll see our $1.34 and our 33 cent on our PEPL voted and board approved levy for that $14.99, and that's exactly how it breaks down. And on the next slide is the one that will show this levy by fund. You'll see that the projected for 24, you can see the general fund coming down. You'll see the management fund going up. I did add some dollars to the management fund in anticipation that for a couple things. One is as we approve that 3-year transportation contract, in 3 years, if that goes away and we do take transportation in-house, we need to be prepared to have enough in that fund to be able to pay for a very large workman's comp insurance and vehicle insurance for a fleet of buses. So rather than waiting until that time happens and having to jack our tax rate up so high, this is the right year to do that, to start to increase that. Another thing that's happening too, and legislative, you hear little whispers about it, they're starting to release some of the uses of management fund and starting to add some things in there. So if we have the funds in there and they say you can start paying for a recruiter out of the management fund, if you don't have a voluntary retirement, we can pay a recruiter out of that fund, but we got to have the money in that fund to be able to do it. So those are the kind of things I was, reasons that I was increasing our management levy. If none of that comes to fruition in the next 2-3 years, we can always back that down and reduce our levy going forward. But this is a little bit being more proactive than reactive, and having to do something significant and having a large spike and a large valley in our funding. And you'll see that that $14.99 is a 60 cent less than the current rate. As a matter of fact, in the last 8 years, it's the lowest rate this district will have. That's important as we go forward when you do a bond issue or something like that, to remember where our levy is sitting. Any questions on that before I'm ready to just do the final, here's our calendar. On the last page, if you remember when the Department of Treasury had to adjust the taxing dollars, the valuations, they gave us until May 1st to approve this. We'll take advantage of that time. We would have had to done this on the second board meeting and the first board meeting in April. So now we can do it the second board meeting in April. I have to have a 10 to 20 day window before that meeting to publish. So if everyone's good with this, we'll get this published between April 4th and April 15th or 14th and be able to have our meeting on the 24th for formal approval. And then to the county before the 1st of May. That's it.
Director Potts.
I have a question in terms of the 14.9912 rate. Okay. Do we establish that rate because that will generate the money we're allowed to generate?
Correct.
How do you factor in increased assessed valuation that's taken place, because that alone would generate additional funds?
There's really 3 layers that go into the majority of the funding. Every district has to tax $5.40 per thousand. So when you're in a property rich district, That generates a lot of money. When you're in a property poor district, we're more on the side of a property poor, but we're not that far from the state average. So that $5.40 generating on the taxable value could be up or down. The second layer is state aid. The state brings it up to 87.5% of our per pupil allocation. And then the rest has to be property tax. So when you're a property poor district, you have to raise your rates up a lot higher when you're property poor to get you up to 100%. That's all in the funding formula that no board has control of. You take a property rich district. I always use College Community, Cedar Rapids Prairie as an example. They're a very wealthy district. They can redo bonds and decrease their levy because they have so much valuation per pupil. They get very little state aid. To get them, their $5.40 generates so much money, and then to get to the 87.5%, and then to add the rest to 100%, the millage that they have is very low. We're just a slightly below average, but not too far from the average. So it's just how the per pupil allocation goes with your valuations. I don't know if I answered it right, what you're looking for, but that's kind of in a nutshell where it's at. Right. Right. People are going to look at their assessed valuation, but they really need to look at their taxable valuation because that's what the state was working on as the rollback. 56% is of your taxable valuation, of your assessed valuation is taxable. So there's about 44% that's rolled back. So when you're looking at $100,000 home, it's really taxed at $56,000 times that $1,499, not the entire $100,000. So there's really two items you really have to look at when you get your assessment. We don't the board, none of us here control that assessment. Thank goodness.
Any other questions? Thanks, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
Next discussion item is subject 12.02 North High Large Gym Sand and Refinish and Small Gym Refinish. Turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you. We're just planning to do some general maintenance at North High School at the gym floors. Sanding and refinishing gym floors is generally just a regular routine maintenance item, but because of the dollar amount we reach with this project, we have to come here and discuss it with the board to let you guys know we're going to do this project. That's really about the safety of the students and athletes playing on the gym floor. Any questions around what that means?
Director Poston.
How many times can that floor be sanded down before it's too thin?
I believe around 6.
And this is the first time?
I think it's been done before on some of them. I don't know how many offhand, though.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or information the board needs? I'm assuming this will be on the next regular meeting for an action item. All right, seeing none, I'll move on to subject 12.03, the West High Auditorium Lighting Project. Turn it over to Superintendent again.
So I'm going to introduce you guys to Jesse Shattuck. Jesse took over for Joe Regan's role as a custodial supervisor and Pepple project supervisor. This is a project he's going to do here to kind of get started off with some of these little projects. So I'm letting him present this.
Okay, first time, sorry. So it's pretty straightforward, honestly. The West High auditorium lights are in need of a upgrade. The current lights have reached their useful life, and if we replace them, it will cost $45,000, and then it's hard to find a contractor who wants to build the scaffolding all the time as well. So we're asking for 95,000, and then the lights have a 10-year warranty, and then also it's better lighting to begin with for events as well. And then I think that's it.
We get a little bit of cost savings because they're LED lights too, right? Save a little bit on that light bill.
Yeah. Well, they actually don't offer a rebate for the fluorescent lights because we don't use them as much. But yes, you're.
Director Klein. Oh.
Are we going to get an energy
Yeah.
savings from Mid-American?
If we start talking about solar again, I guarantee you we start getting some rebates. Remember that?
So no rebate.
Is there any other questions or information? Anybody? Director Beck.
Sorry, I think I didn't catch it. The reason it's expensive is not the actual lighting itself.
Well,
it's the scaffolding that has to go into place and the labor involved.
The lights have reached their useful life.
Okay.
And it's just prudent to upgrade. And well, because North and Central both have these lights as well already.
Okay.
So one thing that does raise the cost of it is no matter what we do with the lights, we have to set the scaffolding up. So if I replace the lights with fluorescent light bulbs that will have to get replaced again in 2 years or a year from now, that cost is set. So I'm looking to set the scaffolding up, put LED lights in that should last much longer than the lights we currently have in place.
This might be a question for you then, Josh. Do we have any other projects that we could be doing up there at the same time?
Potentially, and that's not a bad idea. We can look into that while we have the scaffolding set up, if we can use it for something else, cleaning or painting or anything like that.
I thought they made those poles. You just screw it down and put it back up.
If we're fixing them, we could use those. You are correct, though. They do have those.
Any other questions or information the board would need before voting on this at the next regular meeting? All right. You knocked your first one out.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to subject 12.04, district-wide HVAC controls upgrades. I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent, who's going to turn it over to Josh.
So I came to you guys earlier about the high schools and doing building automation controls upgrades at all of those buildings. And I said we were continuing to work on the rest of the buildings because we hadn't gotten to those yet. But we wanted to get the ball rolling with the high school projects. So what this discussion's for is about the elementary and intermediate school building controls. I see I did not list on here the actual cost of that, so I'm going to let you guys know right now the estimated cost on this project is $4,493,000. And that would be utilizing Train and our state Omnia contract through them. This actually entails 20 of the schools, so it's a pretty wide range of the buildings. By doing this, we should be able to utilize our funds better later on. You know, $20,000, $30,000 here and there to fix these items is pretty expensive when you start thinking about it, and it would be taking out of our Pebble funds later. Whereas I'd rather spend those funds painting classrooms or fixing lockers or buying furniture for students in the buildings. So I think this project would be funded by ESSER, and it would help us later on to have more money.
Is there any questions any board members have? Any additional information you would need? Josh, you're knocking them out of the park. I guess I should turn them over to you all the time.
It's been a good day so far.
All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next subject is 12.05, replacement of the pool packs and RTUs at North, and I will turn it over to Superintendent.
All right, this is my last one. North High School has a unit called the pool pack on it. The main use of the pool pack is to dehumidify the pool area. And if anybody's been in the North High School pool area, you've seen sometimes where the humidity is not controlled as well as it should be, and we've had to do a lot of maintenance on it. I know that it is part of the YMCA area as well as these RTU units, the rooftop units that we were replacing. If you're not familiar with the contract, we do have to do the maintenance and upkeep of that equipment. And again, these funds come out of our PEPAL funds when you have to maintain this stuff. I believe this pool pack unit, for example, I think was discussed maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it was around $800,000 then itself. So it's gone up in price some now just for that one unit. This project as a whole, I don't think I listed on here also, but I listed that as $2,784,000. Again, covered under the state contract through Omnia. The reason we also decided to do the pool pack units and the RTUs or rooftop units is we will have a crane on site to pick these things off the top of the building. And while we have the equipment there and the people there to do it, the rooftop units are 25 plus years old. Let's replace them. So that's what we're looking to do there. Again, this would be a ESSER funded project, which my hope would be saving us some PEPAL funds later without having to work on this equipment. Any questions?
I'll throw one at you. How often, because I know it's the YMCA that has, how often do our students benefit from that? I mean, I understand we have to do the maintenance and all that, but I feel like they're benefiting more from it than us, if that makes sense.
I probably wouldn't be the correct person to answer that direct question. I can't say
I'm
I've.
going to breach contract if I ask that question. I'll let you find that out for me. I don't. Okay.
It's a good question,
I
Doug.
appreciate the fact that you're gonna do two things while you got a crane there, because cranes aren't very cheap. You got to pay as soon as they leave the shop to there and back to the shop. So
You are correct.
Director Poston.
Just to follow up to your question, I'm assuming that the swim teams, especially during swim season, they get the pool, right? Okay.
Does anyone need any additional information or have any other questions before we vote on this at the next regular meeting? Thanks for explaining RTUs. Not a lot of people know that.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to subject 12.06, policies for board's first discussion. I'll turn it over to Director Klein-Durham.
Are there any questions on these first policies that were sent out? Director Beck?
No, the only one I had was on policy 601.05. There weren't any legal codes listed, and I didn't know if that was just an oversight because I missed that meeting.
This is not a legally required policy. This is something that we are working with Judy Elliott to make sure that we are implementing inside of our district to create a system for all students.
Okay, and so there's no education code that we should be cross-referencing in here or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay, that was my only question because it just sticks out as being different. Have we had Wendy look at this one also?
No.
Okay. I might suggest she take a quick look just to make sure if this is one that we're developing or have Siobhan or one of the IASB policy people take a look at it just to make sure that we're not proposing anything that might not pass muster. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. They're all into the words.
Any other questions? Director Boston?
501.10, truancy, unexcused absences. So there's quite a bit here that's been crossed out and some added here. What are we trying to accomplish here? What was the reasoning behind this?
I think, to define the absences will include but not limited to, well, you could just add and add and add. So we just said, okay, we're not going to put any examples like hunting and concerts and things like that. okay, where do you stop, and putting all your comments on that. The fact that truancy, including suspension and expulsion, well, the problem is they're not in school anyway, and if you're going to suspend them and expel them, you're just adding to that issue. Did that answer your question? Okay. Anybody else? Director Potts.
501.23 boundary lines. We're adding at least every 10 years. Is that? I'm fine with that add. I mean, that's.
And that was your request.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But now my own question would be: is 10 years? I mean, is that a correct number? I mean, how do we do? I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying, is 10 years? It says at least 10 years. So what would?
We did it to align, the legislator does it every 10 years, so we just figured we'd throw it like that. That's why we threw that 10
After the census.
Yeah.
You know how they redistrict,
okay.
so we
All right.
put it in
Okay.
there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there's not like a best practices policy in the state that says this many years is the ones that is what people should use.
That makes sense.
Well, and we thought if it was, like every 5 years, that's a lot of disruption that we could be
That's a lot of
creating to move boundaries.
You have to have some sort of yardstick to measure. Okay, is there been a big enough change to change the boundary or not? Yeah, and that's discretionary.
Right.
Okay, I'm
This
good.
doesn't say that they have to be changed. They just need to be revisited, right?
Well, yeah, but
Every 10 years, you have to at least evaluate whether they fit anymore.
yeah, but the
But you don't
purpose of
have to.
revisiting is to see if you have to make changes.
Right,
Not necessarily that you would.
right.
Okay,
Any
I
other,
got another one.
Director Potts?
Okay, this is not so much about the policy, but I see the policy on corporal punishment. Okay, this is going to date me, but when I got the email that said there was a swatting incident at Central, honest to God, I thought, who the hell's smacking kids? And I found out that's not what it meant.
That did date you. Director Poston?
The corporal punishment one, 503.05. So it looks like a complete rewrite. Some of what was crossed out, I can't read, but it looks like just kind of a reclassification of the use of physical.
Yeah, this was, isn't this IASB's language?
Okay.
So we just dropped ours and put theirs in. Director Beck?
My other question on this one, does IASB call it corporal punishment? Because it's not really, it's about more than just that. Physical, corporal punishment, I think at this point, most people know it's not, it's prohibited, but this broadens it to include certain other types of things. That's what theirs is called. Okay, sorry, I didn't get a chance to look it up beforehand. All right.
Other questions? Okay, it will be brought back. Oh, sorry. Director Gordon?
The part where it says upon request, the student's parents are given an explanation of the reasons for physical force, or do we still mandate that a letter goes home or a phone call made to parents if there's a restraint or confinement at all? Okay. Thank you.
Physical restraint and breaking up a disturbance are two completely different things that require two different reporting. Yep.
Any more questions? Director Boston?
Not on these policies directly, but some of the what's come out of Des Moines, like Senate File 482, and then Senate File 496, are we going to have to write policy for those?
Okay. So ISB is working on it because yes, we will have to have policy on it.
Siobhan's working on
Every legislative change that affects IASB policies, they send out a packet with their new templates, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to switch to the numbering system that IASB uses, because now we can say, oh, they changed this policy number, and that's our policy number, pretty much the same.
There's also, I think this is still in committee, but House File 604, having to do with discipline for violent incidents. So would that end up being in this policy, or would that end up being a totally new policy?
Yeah, it depends on where ISB thinks it fits, because when they send it with the numbers, and since our numbers now correspond with them, we'll know whether it just amends this and either way we would address it here and let you know where it fit in.
604 starts with the local school board will adopt a policy. So that's where it starts.
Other questions, comments? This will come back to us at the next regular board meeting.
One more note along the lines of what Director Poston said. There was also one, I believe it was Senate File 496, and I think it passed, but I'm not positive. We just redid the health education policy a few months ago, and we have to drop some language from that too. So it's coming out. There's going to be another one that we literally just voted on like November. So
yeah, whenever they come up, then they will come back here.
In Senate File 496, there's also, and I think it's been amended once already, but there's also a requirement that in order to graduate, you must pass a civics test. Okay, so does that become a policy for us then too, or what? How does
it would probably go into Chapter 12 as a requirement from there, right, Diane? Yep. And they'll probably, more than likely, they'll give us ample time to create the curriculum, move forward from there.
Although that's not the way it read, like it was going to be for, yeah, yeah, it's because of ample time. Yeah. Any others? Okay. I'm done.
Ready. And now we will move on to administrative reports. I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent. Hopefully he doesn't kick it back somewhere else.
It is with great pride that I would like to announce the two administrators that were on our consent agenda. Up first, we have Brian Alinger. He is the new principal at Davenport Central. I'm incredibly proud. Mr. Alinger has been proud to serve the Davenport Community School District since 2005. All 18 years have been at Central High School, where he was a teacher and a coach for 7 years, the athletic director for 7 years, associate principal for 3 years, and most recently the interim principal at Central. As the athletic director, Mr. Alinger was able to oversee many of the major improvements at Central, including the Brady Street complex renovations, as well as the additions to Central Auditorium and Aquatic Center, which were completed in 2016. As an associate principal, Brian has been spearheading the effort to engage our freshmen and underserved students, most notably in the development of the Bridge program through the redirection and reconnection programs. Mr. Alinger has also had the privilege of overseeing our regionally recognized fine arts department. Brian and his wife, Heather, admin assistant at Sudlow, are committed to the Davenport schools. All three of their daughters are Central High graduates, and they have 3 grandchildren who are current DCSD students. Brian's done an outstanding job this year as the interim principal, and we're incredibly proud to add him to our team. The new director of learning and results, who is sitting over here with us now, Ms. Diane Campo. Diane Campbell is the lead district support administrator at the Mississippi Bend AEA and has been a leader at the Mississippi Bend AEA for the past 7 years. Prior to joining the AEA, Diane served as a central office administrator, high school associate principal, and elementary building principal for Muscatine Community School District. Diane is a former special education teacher and special education consultant. She has been a leader in our area of curriculum and professional development, serving on the Iowa Association of ASCD board and has facilitated the planning and delivery of high-quality professional learning in the building, district, regional, and state levels. She embeds a pre-K through 12th grade focus on her, well, she put 16 on here because we're to and through, right, Diane? Focus in our systemic improvement efforts and challenges the traditional model of education, focuses on what is possible for our students. Diane has 37 years of experience in school improvement, personalized learning, and evidence-based practices to transform teaching and learning. Diane completed her undergraduate and graduate work at the University of Iowa. Sorry about that, Vice President Klein-Jerome. Master's degree in special education, also received a master's in educational administration from Western Illinois. We're incredibly proud to have you be a part of our team, Diane, and know you're going to help carry this team forward and be a great calibration partner. And Brian, I know you're out there listening somewhere right now. We're incredibly proud of you and know you're going to take Central to new heights. Thank you.
Board requests. Are there any board requests? Seeing none, we will move on to board reflections. We'll start with Director Beck.
Well, of course, having our student athletes honored is always a big deal. And so I enjoyed that. I also was really happy that we were able to acknowledge the semi-driver who was involved in that accident. I think that was really important to let him know how much we appreciated him. And then I also really appreciated the summer school presentation because knowing what's going, summer programming, I'm going to say that, knowing what's going on with our kids in the summers is important too.
Thank you, Director Poston.
Well, I don't think I can pick or choose here. I think everything was quite important that was presented to us here at the meeting. So my reflection would be that we're making a lot of progress, and there's been a lot of things added that is helping the district. So I think the entire meeting was
Thank you, Director Hayes.
I enjoyed the ease with the budget. Kevin does really well with the numbers, and he makes it all really easy to understand, and I appreciate the time and attention that's directed toward that, and I enjoyed the summer program presentation as well. I'm just hoping that more individuals take advantage of it, especially the high school students, since all 4 buildings will be open. And, you know, I just wish more would take advantage of it.
Thank you, Director Gordon.
I really enjoyed all of our presentations, but I especially love seeing the room fill up with students. So I really enjoyed the athletic presentations, and it's really neat to see so many of my former students and daughters and sons of good friends of mine show up and be recognized for their efforts.
Thank you, Director Potts.
Yeah, I'd go with the recognizing the students, the athletes, and the truck driver, because the truck driver was the highlight for me, because that man's instant act of selflessness prevented death on a huge scale. And that was his instinct. What did he have? He had less than a blink of an eye to do that.
Thank you, Director Klein-Jerome.
I think overall we are definitely heading in the right direction, student focused, everything that was presented just shows that we are heading in there. I also found it interesting that one of my former students was now one of the coaches that came up. And I'm also pleased that we have ratified all of the contracts for next year.
Thank you. Superintendent Schneckloff.
I echo what Bruce said to a T.
Thank you. I was gonna do that too. Ditto to what Director Potts said for sure. The other thing I want to say is I am so glad that they finally sanctioned girls wrestling. It is about time, and I'm glad that we have some powerhouses in our school district. So I'm just glad they finally smartened up with that. And with that, Director Potts, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, meeting adjourned.